Hey gang, and welcome back. Just so you know, you can use the promo code MTGMudsta, all caps, one word, at FlipsideGaming.com to get 10% off orders $10 or more. You can also use the promo code at Original Magic Art on everything except for paintings. And finally, you can use the code at mtg.multizone.ca to get 10% off of your orders of singles. Using the code will help you save some money and help out the channel at the same time. You might be noticing, but today's video is not on a Monday or a Thursday. That's because today is my birthday, and as a gift from me to you, I'm bringing you this extra game. I hope you enjoy and have a great day. First up, we have Adam playing Jodah, keeping Restore, Weathered Wayfarer, Command Tower, Thespian Stage, the Mending of Dominaria, and Crop Rotation. New to the channel is Zach playing Zada, and he keeps Titan Strength, Goblin Chieftain, Beetleback Chief, Reckless Charge, a Mountain, Goblin Burrows, and Goblin Lackey. Dean is back playing his Slimefoot deck, and he keeps Elvish Farmer, Parallel Lives, Revel in Riches, Golgari Rot Farm, a Forest, Phyrexian Tower, and a Swamp. Last but not least, new to the channel is Drew playing his Thrasios and Vial Smasher deck, keeping Command Tower, Chromatic Lantern, Treasure Cruise, Lightning Greaves, Tatiova, and Jace Vryn's Prodigy. Dean wins the die roll and starts us off. Dean draws and plays a Swamp. He's a turn 1 spell, and he casts Phyrexian Reclamation before passing. Drew plays a Command Tower and passes. Adam also plays his Command Tower, but taps so he can immediately cast a Weathered Wayfarer, and he passes. Zach draws and plays a Mountain, casting the turn 1 Goblin Lackey and Living the Dream. Dean drops a Forest and plays his Elvish Farmer. Drew plays an Island and brings out Jace Vryn's Prodigy. Adam plays a Thespian Stage and passes. Zach plays his Goblin Burrow and heads to combat. He swings the Lackey at Adam, and before moving to the blockers, he casts Chimera Battle Rage to give the Lackey double strike. Adam declares no blocks, and the first hit then connects. This lets Zach put out the Goblin Chieftain, and the Lackey then deals 2 damage, and once again triggers, letting Zach drop Beetleback Chief, who gives him 2 Goblin tokens upon entering. With nothing else, Zach passes. Dean gets a Spore counter on his Farmer on his upkeep, and he casts Illusionary Bracers as his main phase. He bounces a Forest back to his hand when he plays a Golgari Rot Farm, and he passes to Drew. Drew draws for turn, and then activates Jace, drawing a card and then having to discard one. Adam responds to the activation by casting a Crop Rotation, and sacrifices his Command Tower to go and find a land. Drew in the meantime draws and discards a Treasure Cruise. He then plays a tap Crumbling Necropolis, while Adam settles on a Gateway Plaza, and pays the 1 with his Stage to keep it from being sacrificed as it enters. Drew then passes to Adam. Adam casts Restore in his main phase, returning his Command Tower to the field, and then passing turn. Zach untaps and draws for turn, heading straight for the combat step like all good goblins should. He swings all out at Dean, who takes the hit for 11. This gives Zach a Lackey trigger, and he puts out a Goblin Trashmaster onto the field. Dean adds another Spore counter to his Elvish Farmer, and replays the Forest he bounced on his previous turn. He then taps out to cast Parallel Lives, and he passes to Drew. Drew draws and plays an Urborg as his land for turn. He activates Jace, and almost as if it's a cue to act, Adam responds by activating his Weathered Wayfarer and goes to find a land. Adam finds a Maze's End, putting it to hand, while Drew discards Lightning Greaves. Drew then casts a Chromatic Lantern and passes to Adam. Adam casts Explore in his main phase, drawing a card and then playing a tapped Boros Guildgate followed by a tapped Maze's End. He then passes to Zach. Zach drops a Mountain for turn, having missed a land drop, not really hurting him all too much as the Goblin Lackey doesn't really care about things like converted mana cost. He goes to combat once more, and this time heads towards Drew with everything. The Goblins connect, dealing 20 damage, effectively cutting Drew's life in half. Sadly, Zach has no fun Goblins to cheat out with the Lackey trigger, so he passes to Dean. Dean gains another spore counter on his farmer, and he plays a Phyrexian Tower as his land for turn. He pays to equip the bracers onto the farmer, and with the ability on the stack, Zach sacrifices one of his goblins to the Trash Master and destroys the bracers. With nothing else, Dean then passes, and at the end of turn, Trash Master goes to work once more cleaning up the field by killing another token and blowing up Drew's Chromatic Lantern. Drew draws, but with no land and a handful of good cards, just passes to Adam. Adam draws for turn and activates his Maze's End to go and find a Guildgate while returning the maze to his hand. He grabs a Gruul Guildgate and replays the maze as his land for turn before passing to Zach. Zach draws and moves to combat. He swings the team at Adam this time, making his way around the board, and Adam blocks the Trash Master with his Wayfarer. Before moving to the damage step, Zach casts Uncaged Fury on his Beetleback Chief, which results in him dealing 16 total damage. He still hasn't drawn any goblins to cheat out with the Lackey trigger, so he passes to Dean. Dean gains another Spore counter and draws, playing another Swamp for turn. He's hoping someone will Wrath soon and wants to reap all the rewards by casting a Revel in Riches, and Dean then passes to Drew. Drew draws and plays a Mountain for turn, paying 5 to cast Tatyova before passing to Adam. Adam plays a Tap Golgari Guildgate as his land for turn, almost halfway to the critical 10 Guildgates he needs to win. He casts an Eternal Witness, who returns Crop Rotation to his hand. Adam then casts his copy of Chromatic Lantern and passes to Zach. Zach draws and plays a Mountain. He pays 4 in his main phase to cast Zada, and as she has haste from the Chieftain, swings everything at Dean. Before moving to blockers, Dean activates his farmer to remove some spore counters, making a sapling token that becomes 2 sapling tokens thanks to the parallel lives. He blocks Zada and the Trash Master, with the other 3 getting through. Before damage is dealt though, Dean sacrifices the sapling tokens, gaining 2 life for each, while Zach's remaining goblins deal 10, which means that Dean really only takes 6. With nothing else, Zach passes. Dean adds another counter and draws, paying 3 in his main phase to cast a Kadama's Reach. He grabs a Forest for his hand and 1 for the field. Dean then plays the Forest from his hand for his land for turn and drops Life and Limb, making all of his forests also become saplings and all of his saplings also become forests. Drew draws for turn and plays an island, gaining 1 life and drawing a card from Tatyova. Adam uses his Crop Rotation again, sacrificing his Command Tower to go and find a Vesuva. He has it become a copy of Maze's End as it enters. Drew also casts Thrasios, followed by Training Grounds. This lets Drew activate Thrasios for only 2 mana, and he scries 1, bottoming the card before revealing a Vampiric Tutor and putting it to hand. Drew then activates Jace, drawing a card and discarding Nulamog to the ability. Adam goes to get some shields up for the Goblin Swarm sitting to his side, and he drops a Propaganda to help dissuade Zach from attacking him. Adam then activates the Vesuvid copy of Maze's End, returning the land to his hand and going to find a Rakdos Guildgate, putting it to field. The Vesuva then gets replayed, becoming another copy of Maze's End as it enters before Adam passes to Zach. Zach casts a Renegade Tactics in his main phase, targeting Zada. The spell is then copied onto every creature Zach has, and Zach then gets to draw 5 cards. Not bad for only 1 red. He plays a Mountain for turn, and he casts Reckless Charge on Zada, which basically means all of his creatures gain +3/+0 in haste. We then see a Kindled Fury give Zach's board +1/+0 in first strike, and finally Titan Strength giving them a further +3/+1, and letting Zach scry 5 times. He bottoms the first one, and then scries 4 more times, keeping the card on top where it is. He swings 3 goblins at Dean and 2 at Drew. Now there's a bit of a mistake at this point, since I think the guys were under the impression that a Renegade Tactics made the goblins unblockable, when in reality they actually can't block. This probably would have changed things a little bit, but Zach did have a Run Amok in hand we learned later, so he probably would have used that instead of one of his other spells earlier on. As a result, he takes out Dean and Drew, and we move to Adam's turn. Moving to Adam's turn, he casts the Mending of Dominaria, milling himself for 2 cards, and returns a Command Tower to his hand. He then passes to Zach. Zach draws and casts Maximize Velocity to pump his board by +1/+1 and give them haste. He swings Zada and the Trash Master at Adam, paying the 2 each needed to swing at him because of propaganda. Adam blocks Zada with the Witness and loses 5 to the Trash Master. At the end of turn, Adam activates his Vesuv at Maze's End to return it to hand and grabs his Selesnya Guildgate. On Adam's upkeep, he adds another counter to the Mending trigger, milling himself for 2 and returning Eternal Witness to his hand. He recasts the Witness, returning Crop Rotation as it enters, and then plays a Mountain and then the Wayfarer before passing to Zach. Zach jumpstarts the Maximize Velocity, discarding a Foundry Seat Denizen, and targets Zada again with the Pump spell. He swings the Trash Master and Zada once more at Adam, paying the 2 each, who in turn blocks and casts Swell of Growth on his Eternal Witness. This lets Adam put out his Vesuva again to have it become a copy of Maze's End. Adam then activates the original Maze's End and returns it to hand and goes to grab an Orzhov Guildgate. Adam then puts one of his creatures in front of each creature, and with nothing else, Zach passes turn. Adam puts the final counter on his Mending, returning all of his lands to the field, and then shuffling his graveyard into his library. Adam then activates the copied version of Maze's End in his main phase, returning the Vesuva to his hand once more, and he grabs the Dimir Guildgate this time, and as his land for turn, replays the actual Maze's End. He then passes to Zach. Zach casts a Screaming Fury on Zada in his main phase, giving his board +5/+0, and pays the 2 to have her attack Adam. Before damage is dealt though, Adam uses Swords to Plowshares, exiling Zach's commander and giving him some life. Thankfully Zada only copies the spells her owner casts, otherwise this would be a bit brutal of a blowout. At the end of turn, Adam uses Crop Rotation, sacrificing his command tower yet again to go and grab a Simic Guildgate. Adam then gets to untap for his turn, and activates the Maze's End. Since the last part of the ability checks only upon resolution, he gets to go and grab an Izzet Guildgate, which means he meets the required 10 Guildgates required to win the game, and he shakes everyone's hand. Game review time. So, I think today's game highlights a few key issues that everyone should keep in mind when it comes to EDH and just playing the game in general. The first being always read your cards. There is a massive difference between cannot be blocked and can't block, which could have potentially had some ramifications. Thankfully, Zach did catch his error at the end of the game, and he did show us that he had run amok in his hand, which is one of the cards that he'd drawn. It would have given his team Trample and +3/+3, which would have gotten enough damage in even with the blockers and life that Dean could have gained. It also highlights the fact that should your opponent start to be using a win condition that doesn't involve dealing damage to you, or a life total for them, you might want to reconsider who you kill first. I know that Adam had propaganda on the field, but as soon as it became clear that Maze's End with his win condition, I think everyone should have gone for him, or at least disrupted him a bit. I would have even considered in Zach's position leaving my opponents alive at least for one turn or two to see if they had a way to disrupt Adam. I think Zach's opener was fantastic and probably one of the best keeps a Zada player could hope for, while unfortunately Dean and Drew had much slower hands and weren't really able to get a lot of action out without being overrun by goblins. I think it was pretty interesting that Adam was the least threatening of all players considering he had Jodah in his command zone, and a lot of people tend to see that card and think free Eldrazi's, but that wasn't the case this time. Please be sure to tune in every Monday and Thursday at 11 AM Eastern Standard Time for a guaranteed new video. You can also follow me on Twitter at MTGMudsta. You can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/MTGMudsta. And lastly, you can check me out when I stream at twitch.tv/MTGMudsta. This video is brought to you in support by my patrons. If you're looking for a way to help out the channel, please be sure to visit the link below. Thank you all for watching this video, and don't forget, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.